The impeachment inquiry gaining steam. The House is set to vote on an impeachment procedure today. The White House slamming the inquiry as illegitimate. Democrats are pushing back against those claims. Republicans are pressuring House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to make sure each vote is on the record today. Joining me right now is the ranking member of Judiciary, is Georgia Congressman and Judiciary Committee ranking member Doug Collins. And Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hey, good morning, Maria.
So first, let's talk about this vote today. What should we expect?
Well, what you're going to expect is a lot of nervous Democrats in districts that President Trump won, because they're going to have to go on record today saying, you know, we want to investigate this president. We think he needs to be impeached. This is something that they've not had to do before. They've been able to hide behind the shadows of Adam Schiff in the dungeon. So now they're actually going to have to at least go on record as saying we want to investigate. But the real problem is they're deceiving the American public again. This is a sham. All they're doing is empowering Adam Schiff to continue what he's doing and not give the president or the due process issues until it maybe gets to judiciary, and maybe there'll be a chance for him there. But remember, process and substance. Process should lead to substance. The substance of this is the president did nothing wrong. The substance of this is they tried for 10 months to paint this president with anything to impeach. Now they're trying to cover up their scam with this impeachment resolution today that really, frankly, doesn't do anything.
So let's say hypothetically that they vote to impeach President Trump in the House. What happens in the Senate then, do you think?
Well, we've already seen a little bit of what's going to happen in the Senate. 50 senators, Republican senators, have already said this mess in the House is a sham and it's tainted the entire way that we look at the impeachment process and what they've been doing, because they realize the basic unfairness. So when it gets to the Senate, you have to know that this is not going to go anywhere. This is not going to happen in the Senate, and that needs to be understood. The Democrats have botched this from day one. From November 2016, there's been a drive between them and the media for impeachment of this president. And at the end of the day, the question becomes, why the driving? Because they know they can't beat him, because he appeals to the American people. He actually has an economy that is working. He's had a foreign policy that works. They can't beat him on the substance, so they try to beat him on making him become a bad guy, which they can't prove, and he is doing a good job. This is impeachment about a president.
Congressman, it's just extraordinary to me how they will not stop with the Russia collusion narrative, which we know was completely debunked. And now we find out that the whistleblower worked for John Brennan. I mean, I know that we're not naming the whistleblower just yet here on Fox, but it's all over the media that he worked for President Obama. He was very close to Joe Biden, Vice President Biden, and he, in fact, worked directly for John Brennan. Your reaction?
My reaction to this is it's like the old commercial. You remember the old commercial that says only their hairdresser knows? Only Adam Schiff knows who the whistleblower is, and they can report about it all along. But this shows the inherent unfairness here of what's going on. When you have a whistleblower that we know had contact with Adam Schiff long before it became public, long before any of this got out in the media and where it became the process that we saw about 4 weeks ago, you have to question what's going on. One interesting thing about this impeachment resolution today is it says that the House Intelligence Committee will present a report to the Judiciary Committee. So right now, right here, I'm going to say Adam Schiff needs to testify at Judiciary when he gives his report. He is a fact witness, but he's also the writer of what the report will be. It's time that he answer question under oath by both Republicans and Democrats and the President's Counsel. Let's see what actually happens if Adam Schiff has to go under oath.
Yeah, but they are in charge. They're the majority. So will you actually be able to get Adam Schiff to testify? I mean, you and Congressman Ratcliffe have called him a fact witness because his staff met with the whistleblower.
I agree. Look, this resolution gives us the ability to request witnesses, and we have to say why we want those witnesses. That's the easiest request I've ever made in my life. All I have to do is put one sentence. He wrote the report. It's very simple. He's been the lead charge of this from day one. He's compared himself to a special counsel. Maria, remember this. He said, I'm acting like a special counsel. Well, Ken Starr was a special counsel. Ken Starr sat in front of the Clinton Impeachment Judiciary Committee, which was where this ought to be. This shows you how sad this is. They've taken it away from Judiciary altogether. But Ken Starr sat there at the Judiciary Committee and answered questions, including Clinton's personal lawyer. It's time for Adam Schiff to do the same.
So just to be clear so that our audience understands, typically impeachment, the jurisdiction for impeachment, the jurisdiction is the Judiciary Committee. But Nancy Pelosi did not put it in the Judiciary Committee. She wanted it in the Intel Committee with Adam Schiff running it. Why? Why not give it to Judiciary where your colleague Jerry Nadler is in charge?
Well, I think that's pretty obvious from the last 10 months. Every time they tried to do something in the Judiciary Committee when it was out in the public, we made a very strong case on why this was a sham, why this was a farce, and they made a joke of it for 9 months. And so what happened was they took it away. What's really sad is they did not even let the Judiciary Committee set the rules for this, what would happen if they do bring it back for us in an impeachment inquiry. They made the Rules Committee give the Judiciary Committee rules on how the president would have due process. We've fallen so far in the Judiciary Committee that they won't even let the chairman and his members help set up rules. You know what that does? That takes it away from me and my ability to influence those rules by taking it to the Rules Committee. This is a problem, Maria. They are just torching the rule book around here because they're only focused on one thing, getting to this president, because they're so fearful that their batch of candidates that are running for president are so bad that they cannot beat this president because he is doing so good.
Yeah, but I mean, they look at the lineup of Democrats there and maybe figure they can't win. I mean, you know, you've got the 2020 hopefuls talking about things that will tank the economy, like trillions of dollars a Green Deal or Medicare for all, which now Elizabeth Warren admits that will mean job cuts.
Well, I think when you look at the circus, which is the Democratic debates, I mean, just could keep having them because, you know, the only thing that happens at a Democratic debate is who can out-free the next one. Because, you know, it's easy if you don't have a product to sell, if you're not willing to go and be honest with the American people about where the economy is, where our foreign policy is, where we are as a nation, dealing with real issues, which, by the way, the Democrats and Speaker Pelosi have not done in the House in the 10 months they've been in the majority, then all you do is you revert to, well, I can't win you on substance, so here, I'll give you something. And I think this is the problem. People are seeing through this. Even millennials all the way through senior adults are seeing through the fact you can't get something for nothing. Somebody pays for it. And if I'm giving something free to somebody, I'm reaching in the back pocket of somebody else to give it to them. And this is the problem that people are seeing through. President Trump has been honest with the American people, and he's set forth an agenda that is growing. This is the problem they have. So they're trying to throw anything they can to disturb a 2020 election because they're still in mourning over the 2016 election.
I want to ask you about the IG report and the William Barr investigation in a minute.
Yes.
But what about this House lawmakers pushing to hear from former National Security Advisor John Bolton? They're pressuring him to testify on the Ukraine controversy. Fox News is confirming comments from Bolton's attorney saying that Bolton will not appear voluntarily.
I agree. That's what we're hearing as well. I mean, look, they're grasping at any straws. Mr. Bolton's name's come up in these hearings. Again, the only reason we know anything is coming out of these hearings is because Adam Schiff leaks it. And I think this is an interesting proposition. All we know is what he wants us to hear because he's cramping down. In fact, not even letting witnesses answer Republicans' questions. So this is the Adam Schiff, you know, hide in the dark show sponsored by Nancy Pelosi. We only know what they're wanting us to hear. If John Bolton comes, I'm sure John Bolton will testify. But the problem here is this. Let's go to substance. There is no quid pro quo. We saw the transcript. Zelensky and the president both said there's no quid pro quo. President Zelensky said, I did not feel pressure. Bill Taylor, one of their star witnesses, basically said he didn't give first-hand information. He didn't give second-hand information.
Yeah.
He didn't give third-hand information. He gave fourth-hand information. So, again, when you don't have the substance, you try to divert people with bright lights and shiny things, and that's what Adam Schiff is doing.
All right, so connect the dots for us, Congressman, because now we have learned that a whistleblower apparently worked for John Brennan, and he was among the group that was peddling the Trump colluded with Russia during the 2016 election. This is exactly the situation that William Barr is investigating. John Durham is expanding his investigation. Now it is a criminal investigation, and that means he can bring John Brennan and Clapper and everybody else down for subpoena them for interviews. We are waiting on the IG report. It's expected soon, maybe next week. What should we expect there, and characterize what you're seeing in terms of those investigations? Connect the dots to this situation with the whistleblower.
Here's the interesting thing about this. Compared to the circus sideshow of the House Democrat majority, look at Bill Barr, the consummate professional who came in and said, look, I'm having to take over when a situation from a previous administration and through this that started with a corrupt cabal of Strzok, Comey, Page, all of this, you know, Baker, going back to the intelligence community with Brennan to a former attorney general that had everything to do with getting at this presidential candidate and then the president himself. He said, I'm going to make sure that we're going through this and looking at it properly. The Mueller report showed what we all know. Nothing happened. But he said, you know, there's a bigger issue here. Mueller didn't look at how it actually started. Why are we in this position? So he appointed Durham, who, by the way, was appointed by Democrats to look into issues as well. He's very well respected, except now Democrats don't respect him because he's getting at issues they don't want. But what we're going to see is from the intelligence community to the corruptness that we saw in the FBI under Comey and others, then we're going to actually be able to get real answers to why some of these issues happen. How did we get the FISA issues? How did we get these reports of these folks working against the president, not being truthful in this process, and now they're going to have to go under oath to do it. This is important for every Democrat, Republican, or independent in this country. We need a Department of Justice and an intelligence community that can be trusted not to be spying on their own citizens, not to be working against their own citizens, but to do their own job. So if you tie it all together, we're tying it from the beginning where this investigation started, where they hated the president. They said we're going to have a work in progress to get this, coming out to an Inspector General's report, which is talking about FISA. This is that secret court. And what we're going to look at is, did they have FISA abuse? Mr. Comey and some of these folks right now, I think they're taking their last tour around the tour network right now because they know that they're scared about what's going to be coming out.
Do you think that we'll see jail time for some of these people who inserted Donald Trump's name in Russia, meddling in the U.S. affairs and coming out with this dirty dossier to get wiretaps on American citizens?
I'm fully confident that Mr. Durham will do everything in his power to come to the truth, and when he finds the truth, he will make the proper decision.
All right, Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Good to see you, Maria. Take care.
Congressman Doug Collins joining us there.